Le président continental de Evafosa, c'est dans cette même salle qu'on a lancé Evafosa. Donc c'est avec lui que nous travaillons et nous espérons que son arrivée va nous permettre d'avancer et qu'il va comprendre aussi ce que nous sommes. On va essayer de lui trouver une place. Maman, je vais te déranger un peu parce qu'on va lui donner entrepreneurial du promoteur et de son équipe. L'entrepreneur ou l'un des membres désignés de l'équipe possède des connaissances, les compétences ou expériences suffisantes et pertinentes liées au domaine d'activité de l'entreprise. Fournir une preuve, attestation, certificat, diplôme. Ça veut dire que si vous voulez nous dire que vous voulez faire dans les farines locales, c'est bon. Mais prouvez-nous que vous êtes capable de le faire. Ce n'est pas parce que vous avez écouté à la radio quelque part que vous vous lancez dedans. Prouvez-nous que vous pouvez le faire. Alors, la formation académique est bien, ça donne des points, mais la pratique est meilleure. L'entrepreneur possède la formation ou l'expérience nécessaire pour réaliser efficacement les tâches d'entrepreneur ou de gestion. Fournir une preuve. Avance. On ne va pas lire. Mais vous voyez qu'il y a la notation, non? À chaque moment, on met des notes. L'entrepreneur possède en anglais.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you.
Started this morning a little bit late.
Does everyone here understand English?
Yes.
You can try it, huh? Okay, that is good. That's enough. That's good. Yes.
Okay, we started this morning a little bit late. We will try to catch up with time. And so after the presentation of all the candidates, we had to go on the first topic that after receiving the speech from the director, the coordinator, Polu. Okay, let me shout. After a welcoming speech from the executive secretary of the crowd and our father here, we now move on to the objective of this workshop, which is the putting in place of climate ambassadors and climate champion. So we had a little bit of presentation of where the idea originated from, so that the implication of the youth in the process of climate change, so to bring them to be more implicated into the procedure, they had to create a platform where they will equip them in order to enable them to participate more in fighting climate change. So that's where the idea of champions and ambassadors originated from. And an ambassador now is somebody that can influence the, how can I say it?
That's fine, I get it. Just
yes,
go ahead.
who is influential, he has a skill of negotiating, he has a skill of marketing, and he must follow he must do a monitor a champion. And a champion is somebody that has a project on the field that is actually geared towards fighting climate change. So his project, in that perspective, he has to define a good project that will not only be economically viable, but at the same time, it will be eliminating greenhouse gases. So an ambassador must be under a champion. So to be an ambassador, you must have a champion that you are following up. And then to be a champion, you must have a project on the field, and a better project, a project that is at the same time viable, at the same time greenhouse gases reduction. So from then I will move forward to presenting the criteria of selecting ambassadors and champions. So those criteria were listed and they have to apply for. So it's an application that you need to apply for, and you need to follow the criteria that have been listed, so that you either become a champion or you either be an ambassador. So they will rate all the criteria that are needed for ambassadors and the criteria that are needed for champion. From there, we went ahead to the next one again.
Mettre la version anglaise.
The last one. Yes, the last one now is the call for proposal.
Call for proposal exercises.
That's the last one. I just.
That's okay, my work.
hope it's clear, sir.
Very clear.
Because on my program, I'm seeing that you have to do a presentation.
I will give a chance for a microphone. Madame Gassa, est-ce que vous pouvez dire un petit mot en français? Juste un petit résumé.
Non,
3 minutes. Qu'est-ce qui a été fait? Pourquoi nous sommes là? Pourquoi vous êtes là?
Nous sommes ensemble pour finaliser le projet de création de la plateforme pour les champions et ambassadeurs climatiques. Alors, ce qui a été fait depuis le matin, monsieur Takam, autant pour moi, nous a fait une brève historique de comment est-ce que la mise sur pied de cette plateforme, d'où ça a commencé et où ça va aller. Et par la suite, nous avons eu à échanger sur c'est quoi un champion climatique, c'est quoi un ambassadeur climatique, les critères de sélection d'un ambassadeur climatique, d'un champion climatique, et les documents à fournir en fait lors de la candidature, qui se fera bien évidemment en ligne. Et pour finir, nous avons attaqué le plan, je crois que c'est le plan d'action si je ne me trompe pas. L'appel à projet, autant pour moi. Nous avons essayé de discuter sur l'appel à projet afin de pouvoir finaliser. Je pense que c'est ce sur quoi nous avons discuté simplement. Merci.
Nous, on a porté et aujourd'hui, je pense que nous sommes fiers de voir ce que nous faisons. Nous avançons avec et nous lui souhaitons la bienvenue.
Thank you.
Je parle là maintenant en tant que président national de Eva Fosa, Cameroun. Et donc, c'est pour dire à Dr Munang que ce qu'il a fait, ça porte du fruit, ça avance. Et que les jeunes qui sont là aujourd'hui, c'est encore le fruit de ce qu'il a semé. N'est-ce pas? Ce sont les fruits qui sont sur l'arbre, qui est en train de pousser. Alors, nous lui souhaitons une fois la bienvenue, une fois encore la bienvenue ici. Et nous lui donnons l'opportunité de s'adresser aux jeunes qui sont là. Je voudrais dire que les jeunes qui sont là viennent de Northern Region of Cameroon, Littoral, West, Center, et ils sont tous là aujourd'hui pour qu'on commence à mettre la plateforme en place. So, Doctor, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Michelle. I know I need to stand up. Or should I sit down? Because I want it to be like a discussion, a conversation, so that it's not too formal, even though I'm wearing a tie. But I can firstly, merci beaucoup, Monsieur Takam, for the excellent work that you are doing. I want to first of all appreciate Mr. Takam for nurturing this vision we had for Africa in Cameroon. Mr. Takam nurtured it, he believed in it, and today we are talking about a platform for champions of environment, of climate change, and ambassadors. So let's give a round of applause. So please excuse me to discuss in English so that at least I don't lose any aspect, but I love to speak in French. I will say some few words as I finished, but I think I'll go very slowly so that you understand, because I have to point out some aspects that I think are very, very important. Firstly, you are very lucky to be part of this process. Why? Because we are at a moment in the history of the world, not only Cameroon, where opportunities are disguised in environmental challenges. We are at a moment in the history of the world where opportunities are disguised in climate change challenges. The degradation of our environment, the floods and the droughts, the crop failure as a result of climate change. Yes, they cause pain, but these are the dispensation and of what you have already summarized. Let me start by saying we usually hear these words, time flies. We grow up hearing them say time flies. And Francis say, how do you say it? I know my version of it, but time flies. Right? What does that mean? When you are 10 years old you become 20 years, you become 30 years, you become 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, you say time flies. Okay. And the discussion we were having was very simple. The United Nations in Cameroon, like in all African countries, have what is called a cooperation framework with the government of Cameroon. And in this cooperation framework, there is what is called a strategic priority, and strategic priorities focus on different aspects, on entrepreneurship, on environmental sustainability. But what is key in every aspect of this cooperation framework is how to leverage the youth to become solution providers for Cameroon and even for the continent. Therefore, this discussion today on this particular topic of creating climate champions and climate ambassadors for entrepreneurship is timely. And I'll bring in, you hear this word entrepreneurship, but I will talk about it from climatepreneurship, because entrepreneurship, anybody can do it. But climatepreneurship, not everybody can do it. But you will be the champions to show that everybody can do it the way it's supposed to be done. You will be the ambassadors to show that everybody can do it and do it in the way that it needs to be done. In Cameroon, and I'm very proud to be a Cameroonian, I'm proud to be speaking to young people from the same country, but knowing that you are being prepared to be not only champions and ambassadors for climate change in Cameroon, but for the entire continent and for the entire world. And so we must be able to applaud yourself and applaud Mr. Takam for bringing up this very, very novel, brilliant idea. So please, reason always, I think since 2015, how do we do things differently? Both in Cameroon and Africa. And it's not been an easy discussion, it's not been an easy process. Because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And Mr. Takam will always laugh with me when he says that something is, yes, I said, but why should something be easy? And I will laugh about it that things are difficult for a reason, so that we can solve them. And in the course of solving them, we create opportunity. Because if everything was easy, then we will not be in this room today. Everybody will be a climate action champion. Everybody will be a climate action ambassador. It is because it is not easy, it is difficult, that we come here to create that platform where we can get the best of Cameroon to start to showcase how this can be done. And you will need guidance. You will need guidance, because one of the aspects and things that I've learned, I'll get to the technical bit of this, but I just want to put this in perspective so that we have the grounding and the understanding of the visionary dimension in which we can take this. One of the most important aspects that sometimes is discussed from the problem perspective after food is the issue of clean cooking. It's a very serious problem in Cameroon and Africa. In Africa, let me start from Africa. We have, the population of Africa is 1.4 billion people. Out of the 1.4, 930 million Africans depend on clean cooking. Out of that 930 million, 700,000 Africans die every year because of indoor pollution, because of depending on charcoal fuel. These are human lives. These are not statistics. These are not just words I'm using. These are human lives. But you hardly hear about this communicated with the intensity and urgency as is done with other things. Done in Cameroon, where we are today, every year, and I have the statistics, 7,000 Cameroonians die because of indoor pollution. 7,000 because of indoor pollution. Why? Because they depend on charcoal. It's not their fault. That's the only option they have. What does it mean? They depend on charcoal, and the charcoal market in Cameroon is $300 million US. It then means if you are to turn waste to briquettes to replace charcoal, you are tapping into a business opportunity while you solve a problem, while you save lives. This is not rocket science, but it's logic and reason. It's a system thinking approach. And therefore, what I've come here to do today is to appreciate the work that Mr. Takam and the team is doing. I know I haven't mentioned Colette, but I can say you start and end with the best, right? and the team for doing what you are doing, for nurturing a generation that can see things differently, because that's what matters. We need a new perspective of seeing challenges, not complaining and blaming government alone. We need to realize that the very solutions we need are in us. Of course we need support. Of course we need guidance. But are we willing to do so? Is the essence of what I believe these climate champions and ambassadors are going to take this kind of narrative, because there is power in a narrative. It's not just about complaint, it's about persuasive narrative that you can convince somebody who is doing something to do it differently but to solve a problem and make money. This needs skills. It needs dedication. And it needs selflessness. And I will go to this point on selflessness, which is, it may sound like, oh, what is he talking about? There are three things in life. The first is to be born. When you are given birth, you are alive. So, and then the last one is, of course, we will live and we will live and we will exit. In between, it's how useful you are. And usefulness of an individual is, what do you do that touches the life of a person beyond you and your immediate family? Let me repeat that again. Usefulness is the purpose of our existence. Let's forget where we come from, it doesn't matter. A solution, yesterday I was in Verder. Did I pronounce that very nicely? Clap for me. I have never been there, and that was the first time I was there. I met mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters, and the community was excited, not because Michelle is from there or I am from there. They were excited because a solution has been brought to them to solve their problem and reduce post-harvest losses, so they can put food on the table and more money in more pockets. That was the usefulness of a human being, of Cameroonian addressing a problem. It therefore means one of the key aspects of being a climate champion and a climate action ambassador, let me just use this word, a climate actionpreneurship ambassador or a climate actionpreneurship champion, is to be selfless. If you are not selfless, and this epitomizes what Michelle Takam has done for the country, whether we like it or not. I work across the entire African continent. He embraced the philosophy of a Barbosa like his own baby. He nurtured him. He took the risk. People abandoned him along the way, and I say this without any fear. And he stood on and went ahead. That's selflessness. So the question I'm asking all of you, are you going to be selfless? No, you need to answer me. If not, I will stop this. I told you this was not going to be a joke. So are you going to be selfless? Yes or no? Yes. Excellent. So I can continue. Mr. Takam, I can proceed. Yes. So if you are going to be selfless, that's good news. Not only good news for Cameroon, but good news for Africa. Why do I say so? I work with young people. Young people are closer to my heart. And I believe in young people. They have the energy, they have the ideas, they have the entrepreneurial spirit, they have the passion, but they need guidance. But we have not had that space in which young people can come together from different parts of the country or from different parts of Africa to reason around a common issue without thinking about themselves alone. And so this I see as that incubation space. What is incubation? Simple. Where ideas are nurtured to flourish and become big ideas that solve problems. That's what I would like to call this framework Climatepreneurship, Champions and Ambassadors in Prevention Space. These are words, so they can be, but the idea here is to nurture a generation that solve problems through the climate lens, but at the same time ensure that they create business opportunities for millions of Cameroonians and for millions of Africa and tap into markets. That's what has been missing, and this is the opportunity to do so. Because COVID came 2 years ago, we never expected it. There are going to be other emergencies that you can, for sure, take it even to the bank. We will have droughts, we will have floods, we will have pandemics. But what we need to be prepared for is one, we need to diversify. And diversification, I mean here, is to learn skills. Even if you have a business you're running or you have an initiative you're running, you need to think through, how do I ensure that what I am doing is in such a way that it's solving a problem and creating an opportunity for me, for the community, because the community then become your market. The community then become the space that absorb your solution, and they can also be able to communicate it to others. People have problems, but they want solutions. And that is what a climate champion and a climate action entrepreneurship ambassador should be able to do, to market solutions. Marketing is not just about talking, it's about product. That is my second point. We need product and service. To create a product, you must be part of the process. There is an act of full arms. No, we need jobs. No, we need jobs. There are no jobs. The youth need jobs. My brothers and sisters, that's not how it works. Look, this is not a problem of Cameroon, it's a problem of Africa. I handle the entire continent, and I understand what I am saying here. If you don't leverage what you have to use it to make a case, nobody will listen to you. That takes me to my second to the last point, which I know you guys are enjoying it, so you want me to continue. But which is that if you don't leverage on what you have, you will become an enemy of progress. Nobody anywhere on earth loves to hear people complaining without presenting solutions. Nobody. They will listen to you, but they will not tell you, but that's it. If you come to me complaining, I will listen to you, but I will not want to associate with you moving forward. I'm not saying you cannot complain. You can say, look, this paper is white, but I want to turn it black. Because if it is black, it can absorb more sun and heat. But this is what I've tried to do, and this is where I'm lacking. Of course, we're a partner. We will join to make sure that that gap is closed. But this paper is white. I am not happy it is white. It is white. I don't know why they made it white. These people spend the whole day complaining. I'll say, please carry your paper and go. I don't want headache. But what I'm giving you here is a simple way of saying it. That's how the world works. People do not like complaints without alternative solutions. It sucks and drains energy. They will start to call you a troublemaker. But they will not tell you. So so what I'm trying to do here is to prepare your mind so that as you prepare to become climate champions and ambassadors, you are not just becoming climate champions and ambassadors because you will talk about climate change, but because you will use the lens of climate change to reshape mindsets in the country and in the continent. And that takes me now to, I said second to the last, right? So you want me to go to the last straight away? So you want that I go to another one before I go to that. So that takes me to the point on which I think that this is quite very, very important, on leadership. We have been made to think that leadership is about positions. No, it's not. Leadership is not about, it's about personal responsibility. And personal responsibility is owning the process and doing it in such a way that it's not only going to go the way you want it, but you do it in a way that you take responsibility. What is the meaning of taking responsibility? This meeting was called here today. You could have gotten up in the morning and complained that you don't have fare and blame everybody for your problems. That's not taking personal responsibility. But you got up in the morning, you said, I'll come here and be part of this process. Whether you trek here or you took a taxi or you took a bike, that's not important. What is important is that you show up. Because your biggest ability is your availability. Please write that down. You can write in French or in English. Your biggest ability is your availability. If you cannot avail yourself, you will not get knowledge. If you cannot avail yourself complaining, you will not create connections, create networks, and get information that can change your life tomorrow. But it's something that we ignore. And so we must become responsible leaders as we engage to become climate champions and climate ambassadors, because it's about leadership. You are the leaders now representing a different dimension of climatepreneurship, environmentpreneurship, solutions that bring money, put money in people's pockets, but solve problems and change mindsets from complaining, blame game, to now, yes, saying we have a problem. Of course we have a problem, but we are going to solve it, and this is how we will solve it. Of course you will fail in the process, but you will learn. The best success is learning from failure. To succeed, you have to fail, because failure is the journey to success. But when we fail, anytime we carry hands on the head and cry, oh, I have failed. So how will you learn? That's not how the world works. And so thank you very much for the great opportunity, and thanks Collect for the wonderful support you have been giving to Babaza Cameroon. Thanks Nelino for all that you've done. And everybody, please, thank you sitting here. Please, I'm not really good in remembering all them, but just know that your presence here today is very, very important, not only for you or for your community, but for Cameroon and Africa. I can stand anywhere in the world today and say, when people say that things are not there, things are there. We now have the Climatepreneurship Champions and Ambassadors platform for everybody. It's not about your tribe, it is not about your language, it's about solutions to touch people in the community regardless of how they look, whether they're black, white, yellow, green, it doesn't matter. Yesterday was a reminder that it's not about language that brings solutions to community. Mothers were speaking their local language, but they were saying one thing: I am happier today than I was yesterday. Why? I can put more money on the table, more food on the table, and more money in more pockets. Let this championship and ambassadorship of climatepreneurs be about that kind of vision and philosophy to support and turn challenges into opportunities.
À ces champions-là des ambassadeurs, nous sommes dans un système de partenariat. L'ambassadeur doit faire le travail qu'il doit faire pour mériter être ambassadeur. Ce n'est pas notre rôle. Pour que vous passiez ambassadeur, il faudrait que vous nous présentiez vos champions, votre champion ou vos champions. Donc, ce beau chemin-là, nous ne l'avons pas. Vous devez faire ce travail. Dr Munang vient de dire qu'il faut travailler avec beaucoup de sérieux. Donc, il faut éviter les courts chemins. Il faut être sérieux dans ce qu'on fait, adopter une démarche et dire voici comment nous le faisons. Je crois que ça a été très clair. Donc, inutile de chercher des courts chemins, ça ne marchera jamais. Merci. No, okay. The question is, that's another
Okay, yes, I understood. Yeah, I was just thinking, did everybody understand what I said, or could you summarize it in French? Okay. Okay, so did you understand?
Nelino, tu peux...
D'accord. Donc, il a dit beaucoup de choses. Mais il parlait surtout du fait que, en réalité, il y a... C'est mieux ici. Bon, en réalité, c'est qu'il y a beaucoup d'opportunités pour les jeunes dans l'environnement. Et c'est dire que, actuellement...
Indo pollution.
Indo pollution.
Yes.
So we have a lot of production of charcoal
All right.
that they are cooking. So this unclean cooking, is it that because we're using the tourists, our local kitchen to cook, that finally produce the pollute all this?
No, okay.
If let me just try to explain it in a very simple way. We grew up, I mean, even today, in every mostly 90%, they say 70 to 90% of Cameroonians, the same statistic across Africa, depend on fuel for cooking. That's true.
Yes. So is it the fuel that is killing them?
That is part of it. When they inhale, because what is produced during using fuel wood, charcoal, is what is called black carbon. And it produces also other soaps that actually cause respiratory problems in so many people. The respiratory problems in so many people cause lung issues that even end up resulting to cancer. The system of a human being, especially when you are taking in those indoor pollution, especially from fuel, because the language I'm using is especially from fuel wood, which is charcoal, because there is also outdoor pollution. But what I'm focusing here is indoor pollution, and there's 100,000 Africans who die attributed to as a result of indoor pollution. And that is where our mothers, our brothers and sisters in villages, they depend on charcoal not because they love it or they like it. That's the only thing they have.
And my question still comes back to the ameliorated stove that they use firewood.
They are not solving the problem because a clean cook stove should have a clean fuel. So if you have a clean cook stove and you still use charcoal, it's like you wash your hands and then you are holding soil on another one and then you are saying wash and then you still hold the soil again. So are your hands clean or not?
Then why are we promoting that in fighting climate change and ameliorated stove?
And clean cook stove is excellent, but it needs to go hand in hand with the clean fuel in this case, 12 briquettes.
Okay, before you came in, you said that concept we are not producing in Cameroon because of the policy in place of not favor agriculture. But you made a statement that Cameroon has one of the best agricultural policy. I don't understand. Because you said give a statistic.
So yeah, come again. I need to. You know, I'm not a politician, so I like to. I deal with facts. So then and you're asking very good questions. So I need to, because you said before I came in, so I need to understand the context of what you are
so
saying.
we're talking of production. That there was a general discussion in the hall about agriculture.
Correct.
And saying that Cameroon people are producing cassava, they're producing corn, but they can't still import. So he
Yes.
came, he corrected and said that no, the agricultural sector in Cameroon is not producing as we are expecting.
Yes.
So we are more of a subsistence because, for example, if they said cassava flour should be added in bread, we will not have cassava again in the market.
That's
and
true.
the prices will increase
That's
because
true.
the production is not there.
That's
And so now he said that the problem is not the cultivation, that the people are not cultivating, but the policy in place doesn't favor the
That's correct.
an extension and
That's
extensive agricultural production.
Yes.
But now you said Cameroon has one of the best agricultural policy. And
Not only agricultural policy, Cameroon have excellent policies.
excellent policy.
And I mentioned ICT sector, and I mentioned agriculture, and I mentioned NDC, which is the climate sector.
So my question was going
Yes.
to the level of the agriculture.
Correct.
If we
I'm
have
coming
that
to it now.
excellent
Let me
policy-
debug it. Let me unpack it for you. Yeah? Let me unpack it for you. A policy is one aspect. Implementation is another. Are we together? On ensemble, eh? D'accord. If you have 5 million policies and there are papers sitting on the shelf, do papers implement? Do papers produce cassava?
No.
Do papers add value to cassava? So what Michelle Takam was saying is the same thing I was saying, but in a different. So my speech, because I need to unpack, and it's a very important question because they heard, is that we do have. Remember, I said you can only work with what you have to get what you don't have. So my argument is, instead of trying to say government has not done ABC, but let's say you put this policy in place. There are gaps in this policy, but these gaps are coming because of what we are doing. For example, now that I put harvest laws, I said over 50% of what Cameroon produces is lost. So if you produce cassava and it's lost, where will you even go to the market to find it? But we need incentives so that at least the material for solar dryers can be manufactured. That's now coming to supplement an existing policy. There is never going to be a one-off policy that is going to solve all the problems that have happened for so many years and they are happening. So what am I saying? They already... It's okay, yeah? All right. Okay. The already existing policies are a starting point. Are they enough? No. There is a difference between saying you have things to start with and saying you have everything not to start, because those things will work out themselves. So what Mr. Takam said, I was not here, but I want to build on that to really explain this, is that if you look at the agricultural policies for every country in Africa, they are siloed. Agriculture is not about the Ministry of Agriculture. Agriculture is about energy. Agriculture is not just about the Ministry of Agriculture in terms of production. It's about ICT. Agriculture is not just about young people. It's about bringing in entrepreneurship so that it's not just farming for food, but farming for business. Agriculture is about climate energy, clean energy to add value. But when you look at the policies that are in place across the continent, this synergistic system thinking approach has not been brought. And that is what Mr. Takam and the team of the Barbosa in Cameroon are trying to do. That's why I said it's not easy, because if it were easy, everybody will be doing it. So your questions are important. Why? That the rule, I will just use that, but this is not another speech. The rule of the climate champions and climate ambassadors must be now to understand this system thinking. That when we talk agriculture, that cassava that is being lost do not need an agricultural input to address it. It needs an energy input to add value. That's a solar dryer. That when we are talking about health, it's not just about the Ministry of Health. It's about quality food produced without destroying the environment, without adding chemicals. That means you are solving a health problem. That it is dried not on the ground, contaminated with soil and dust, but on a solar dryer that is clean. You are addressing a health issue. That in the course of developing that solar dryer to dry an agricultural product, you are creating jobs for the youth. That's the kind of transformational thinking that we need. It therefore means, do Cameroon have good policy? Yes, they do. Are they enough? No. And they have never been enough for any country on earth. But how will we change it? By the actions on the ground, we generate data. And that's why they're saying tomorrow, I hope they will attend. Michelle, are we
Some of them.
Yeah, well, that's fine. But the idea is simple. Is when we do what we do now and generate data, we can now say, look, the current policies in place need now to take into consideration this, because we've proven that if you are to grow cassava using nature-based approaches, agroforestry technique, organic agriculture, organic pesticides, you grow, you harvest a lot, but you lose. But if you add a solar dryer, you dry, and when you dry, you can produce cakes, you can produce flour, you can make cakes and sell, you can put more money in your pocket, and in the course of doing all that, jobs are created. So an agricultural policy that was just about production alone, that those aspects will not need to take on those. But if I sit here and I say, so that I can be given a hand of applause and I feel big here, and I tell you people, Cameroon doesn't have any policy. That's wrong. And that's a populist message that they'll clap for me here, but it is a false narrative. What I'm saying is Cameroon have an agricultural, the growth and employment strategy of Cameroon is not just about agriculture. I said agriculture is the engine in it. It has other aspects. But the implementation now, to showcase how it's done, is slow. And that's what not through the Climatepreneurship ambassadors and champions, we need to lead to say, we use this, we do this, so that we can expand to move forward. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
And then the one on the clean cook stove, let me just come back to it again because it's important.
On avait déjà défini. Allez-y.
Ok, merci Monsieur Tatam de me passer la parole. Je suis Simone Boulet, jeune entrepreneur vert camerounaise, résident à Tchang. Le projet dont je vous fais part est la gestion durable des déchets biodégradables pour la production d'un allume-feu qui facilitera l'allumage du feu de bois énergie en l'occurrence le feu de charbon, le feu de bois, de chauffage, les fours à copeaux sciure. D'après la Fondation Camerounais Terre Vivante, 51% de la population de Douala utilise du feu traditionnel, contrairement à l'imagerie populaire qui pense qu'à Douala on n'utilise pas du feu traditionnel. Donc en 2018, nous avons réalisé dans le cadre d'une étude à l'école, nous avons réalisé une étude et effectivement la population de Douala fait recours beaucoup plus à du charbon, ensuite à du feu de bois et ensuite troisièmement à des fours à copeaux sciure. Et ensuite, nous nous sommes posé la question de savoir qu'est-ce que la population de Douala utilise pour allumer ce feu traditionnel. Le premier combustible utilisé est du plastique à hauteur de 49%, ensuite du pétrole et après de l'EVA, la sève de l'EVA. Les problèmes qui ont été soulevés par les ménagères étaient en l'occurrence les odeurs nauséabondes émises lors de la combustion du plastique, de l'EVA. En l'occurrence, le prix aussi, le plastique coûte un peu... Pardon. Le pétrole coûte en moyenne 450 francs sur le marché dans la ville de Douala. Et puis, le plastique, lui, il est indisponible en saison pluvieuse parce que lorsqu'il pleut sur du plastique, il ne s'enflamme pas. Donc, les ménagères disaient, nous voulons un allume-feu qui sera disponible pendant toutes les périodes de l'année, qui ne pourra pas avoir des odeurs nauséabondes, qui pourra avoir un temps de latence en moyenne 4 secondes, maximum 5 secondes. Et que cet allume-feu soit proche de nous, qu'il soit disponible sur l'étendue de la ville de Douala. Nous nous sommes dit comment pouvoir résoudre, en même temps, puisque nous sommes étudiants en écologie, biodiversité, environnement, comment résoudre un point environnemental et répondre aux besoins de cette population. Alors, le travail, il a été très basique. Il s'agissait de recycler les déchets de bois, sciure de bois, puisque ces déchets encombrent les unités de transformation de bois. Recycler les déchets tels que les déchets d'agrumes qui sont inflammables et de les combiner pour produire un allume-feu et le proposer à cette population. Nous avons proposé le produit à Douala, les femmes ont été d'accord et ensuite nous avons essayé d'étendre dans le Cameroun pour voir si la population rurale... Simon Boulay, I'm coming from Chang and my project is about recycle waste, agricultural waste and sawdust to produce a fire starter to light traditional fire like wood, charcoal or sawdust. In 2018, we make an exercise in Douala to know what people use to light fire, and the first thing is plastic, the second thing is kerosene, and the last thing is EVA. And women tell us that the smell is not good because when they rain, the plastic is not easy to light when there is the rain, and it's difficult to have kerosene. Is expensive. It's difficult to have it every time, and we think about the proposition to recycle waste sawdust to produce a fire starter and give it to the population. Thank you.
Je suis ambassadeur pour food et membre de l'association pour l'environnement. Je suis de la Gamawa. Nous avons constaté que dans la région d'Adama, plus de 60% de la population utilise du bois de chauffe. Et après notre étude, nous avons constaté que si cette pratique continue, cela va non seulement impacter sur l'environnement et sur la population. Donc, nous avons lancé le projet One Youth, One Tree afin de pouvoir inculquer dès le bas âge l'idée de pouvoir défendre non seulement l'environnement et de protéger les arbres. Et cela sera implémenté grâce à quoi? Grâce à notre équipe qui sera constituée de, non seulement il y aura un environnementaliste parmi nous, il y aura aussi un développeur qui va concevoir une application qui va permettre de tout un chacun de pouvoir parrainer un arbre jusqu'à la sortie de son cursus primaire et secondaire et pouvoir être celui-là qui pourra non seulement être un leader et un pourvoyeur du bonheur du jour au sein de sa communauté. Merci. My name is Franklin. I am a member of action for the environment and are promoting this project of one youth, one tree in the Adamawa region, and see that in my community, everyone could use a what I can say, a tree to cook. And if we focus in the future, we will see that our environment will be the true self, and that we promote in the level school initiative that every youth to be actor of change by protecting a tree and be a what can say mentor of one tree after finishing school. Thank you everyone.
Let us we cannot be at this.
Ne le perturbez pas, ne lisez pas.
Our city in Cameroon are very dense, and let's not be ashamed. Yesterday when I was following a report of the Minister of Environment and Social Development, noticed that 600,000 tons of solid waste households are produced in Cameroon yearly, but only 60,000 tons are collected by the company in charge of the collecting of that solid waste households. In Cameroon, it exists market of waste, but that market is essentially composed of informal sector for 80%. The other, the solid waste also that are collected representing only 30%. The other 17% is an opportunity for the entrepreneur. That's why in our organization we are developing a unit mobile system to produce biochar. It's a biological charcoal. That mobile unit production kit will be put in households for attain a double objective. First, because the solid waste household must be treated directly in the household. That can be favor on for the climate change. And in the second objective, because the biochar is more benefit for the household than wood and gas, domestic gas.
Well done.
My name is Nassan Tachana Peoli. I'm an entrepreneur in green environment. My project is to reduce trade and recycle a waste in boundary town. My English vocabulary is not enough. Please let me explain myself in French.
Allez-y.
Ok. Nous avons en fait des millions de tonnes de plastique sont produits chaque année. Et ceux-ci sont utilisés dans la production d'objets divers et d'emballages. Alors, ces emballages, comme nous le dit les unes aujourd'hui, sont nocifs non seulement pour l'environnement, et cela observe par leur présence dans la nature, dans les rivières, dans les océans, ce qui nuit effectivement à la faune, à la flore et donc au système, à l'écosystème. Alors, toutefois, bien que la plupart des objets que nous utilisons au quotidien, nous n'avons qu'à regarder cette salle, sont faits de matériaux plastiques, il semble donc impossible ou alors difficile de s'en débarrasser. Toutefois, nous pensons qu'une éducation à la réduction de la quantité de plastique utilisée par jour et le recyclage de ceux-ci peut être un moyen d'arriver à réduire ces déchets.
Merci, M. Nathan, de m'avoir passé la parole. Et votre projet porte sur la transformation de graines de Nîmes en fruits de Nîmes. Donc, on a constaté chez nous, dans le Grand Nord, qu'il y a le nimier qu'on plante, mais on transforme ces graines-là traditionnellement. Donc, ce qu'on pense, c'est essayer de transformer ces huiles de Nîmes là et utiliser pour, par exemple, pour la désinfection. Ou bien pour.
Bats-toi!
Vas-y, tu peux. Tu peux.
Ah.
Ça vient déjà.
The project important to transform a meal of neem nut for a meal to oil.
Transform into.
To use.
Don't worry, right? Your ideas were heard, so I think, Michelle, I know, I'm really talking about that.
We are not happy because he is obliged to speak English and French. He has time to prepare himself from boundary to here. He's a very proactive one. So I would like him to be proactive even in English and French. Bon, on applaudit pour lui. C'est pas mal, il a essayé la prochaine fois.
Voilà pourquoi c'est l'une des raisons pour laquelle je suis même présentement ici. En attendant de trouver mieux, voilà pourquoi j'utilise le bois de chauffe en attendant de trouver mieux pour pouvoir faire ma transformation et mettre le produit même sur le marché. Au-delà de ça, j'ai d'autres produits dérivés en fait, qui sont les épices et tout ce qui va avec. Et voilà pourquoi je viens ici en profane en fait. Je viens pour apprendre. Donc c'est un peu ça. Et s'il fallait qu'on m'accompagne, ça serait beaucoup plus des orientations par rapport à comment vendre sur le start-up dont vous parliez. Donc c'est un peu ça. Et
en anglais?
En anglais maintenant. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mango Adija. I am a student at the University of Marwa. I believe in Gaudiri. But my project my project is a transformation de comment tu viens en anglais là?
Meat. Bushmeat.
Voilà, meat.
Bushmeat, yeah.
Meat.
Ah, meat, yes.
Yes,
Transform
meat.
yeah.
And transform meat and other
Meat and meat project.
Voilà. Meat and meat project.
In
meat project in the Cameroon region and Africa.
On applaudit pour elle.
My name is Lomota Zengael. Our groups works to create ecology chapel. In north of Cameroon, we live in we will name it or
Just go with what comes to your head.
We support chaleur. We don't have some arbres, trees. Someone use it, cut it to cook in the house. Our groups think to do this ecology chocolates to reduce cutting of trees and to protect environment against pollutions with emission of gas in IPC. Yes.
On a besoin pour elle.
C'est une plateforme qui permettra de repérer les guichets. ménagers afin d'aider ceux qui font la transformation des déchets à pouvoir mener à bien leur travail. Alors ici, il s'agit d'une plateforme qui permettra à chaque ménage qui à chaque fois aura un déchet pourra le signaler afin que ceux qui font la transformation des déchets puissent venir et récupérer ces déchets-là pour en faire du biogaz. Alors ceci aidera chaque ménage respectif à réduire la pollution de l'air et de l'eau tout en contribuant aussi à la réduction de la production du gaz à effet de serre. In English, please excuse me, I will not present myself when I'm starting in French. Okay, my name is Kenya Babda. My project is a platform who can help to repair waste on households. It is a platform that any household, when he have a waste in his house, can declare that he have a waste, and those who do in waste management can come and get this waste to transform in biogas to help them to cook and reduce the pollution of water and eggs. Yes.
Un public beaucoup plus large pour que tout le monde comprenne ça en très peu en détail technique. Voilà. Qui n'aime pas la nourriture ici? Tout le monde a la nourriture. Everybody likes food. And it's important. So let's talk about food. Let's proceed. Food is what we need to live. It's actually what we need to function, basically. And food is primarily derived from agriculture. But agriculture, now what is agriculture? Agriculture is the biggest employer in African countries. It is the backbone of most African economies, including Cameroon. And is the main driver for sectoral development. And what I mean by this is that we have ICT for agriculture. It means developing ICT tools that will boost agriculture. We have transport for agriculture, linking farms with markets. That's building roads to link farm and markets. And energy for agriculture, producing energy to help boost the transformation of agricultural products, which means that agriculture not only is the backbone of all our economies, but it is agriculture that drives all our development throughout our sector. But we have bad news. Our food is insecure. We like food, but it's insecure. Why? Because our agriculture heavily relies on weather and climate. And climate change is real, and at a global scale, it's changing every year, becoming worse every year. And locally, it means we have fewer rainfalls, we have more frequent droughts, and we have Bitcoin-like seasonal stability. For those who understand what it means, yeah. Because now, this year we'll have 3 months of rain, next year we'll have 2 months of rain, then it's actually not stable, and this is a big problem. Continue. And it affects at the production level in the farms. There are substantial losses due to the unreliable climate. Financially, we have equivalent potential earning that are lost. At the economic level in the country, we are losing on GDP, on balance of deficit, because we're obliged to import rice, import a lot of things. At the employment level, we lose jobs because people cannot eat. We lose jobs. As far as practices are concerned, now people are obliged to use some chemicals, heavy chemicals, polluting chemicals, and bad practices which are not environmentally friendly because they're trying to cope with climate change. And this brings a very high cost, both environmentally and financially. Continue. But there's a glimmer of hope. And continue. This hope comes from NECs. And how did it come in place? Due to the seriousness of this issue in 2015 at the COP21 in Paris, 106 countries came together to sign an agreement that states that they are going to contribute to reduce our impact on the climate. And what Cameroon ratified was to reduce its estimated carbon footprint of 2025 by 32%. But this 32 is a big number. Why is it a big number? Consider 75% of Cameroon's population is made up of youths. And this is where things become interesting. 2 questions come in mind now. How can we strengthen now the actions of youth in the implementation of climate policies in Cameroon? Because we want to reduce by 82%, but we have mostly youth. So how can this use impact this, and what actual roles can this use actually play to be game changers for Cameroon? So ideally, 2 roles come in mind. Champions, which are climate entrepreneurs, and ambassadors, which are the voice and facilitators for youth ground climate actions. A champion can be defined as a climate entrepreneur. He's the one that drives change through actions on the field. He's the one that tries to identify problems, environmental problems, and solve them, which solutions have an economic impact. And it can range from biofertilizers to clean energy to recycling to waste management. On the other hand, we have ambassadors. Ambassadors are the voice and the public, the PR for the champions. They are the ones that lead roles in lobbying and advocacy. And that's not just, that's to drive policy changes, not just at the international level, but also national and locally. Locally by creating some environmental clubs, nationally by discussing with the senates and everything, and internationally by leading negotiations and lobbying at the international level to create good opportunities for champions and raise awareness in the local population. So, ideally, the solution now to this problem is to develop a platform of young climate ambassadors and champions capable of influencing climate policies at national level and practice of inclusive climate entrepreneurship at the local level based on ecosystems. So, all this in mind, this is what we need. And the platform should be to train and build capacity of young champions in EVA techniques and like technologies along with agro-silver pastoral value chain. Which is, we have champions, but champions we need to strengthen their capacities too. Yes, to build their capacities. Please come on. We need to develop capacity of champions to do web services and applications in green entrepreneurship. Yes, because ICT is a thing now, which can help facilitate a lot of things. We need to equip ambassadors with climate technology monitoring tools. Ambassadors need to be up to date. We need to train ambassadors to practice influence marketing, lobbying, and advocacy and negotiation techniques with professionalism. That's to help champions. At the end of the day, our food is insecure. And that's all thanks to climate change. And things can change, and Cameroon's government is committed to this change. In order to help the country fulfill its commitment and achieve its NDC goals, youth are a pivotal change to this. And they can be a change either as champions or ambassadors. And to save our food, we need a platform for these leaders and champions to be capable to influence climate policies and practice inclusive climate entrepreneurship. Before closing, I want to close with 2 statements from someone famous. We only have one planet, and there is no better moment than today. So, with this in mind, thank you.
Good job. Excellent. Like I said, I'm not a politician, I'm a technocrat. And when I see something good, I say it is good. If it is bad, I will say it is bad. Because I'm not out there for popularity. I don't need numbers or clouds to do right. Honestly speaking, this is excellent. Give a round of applause for those who presented. I think this is actually one of the best presentations I have seen from young people across the entire world who are saying what needs to be done and say it in a way that everybody can understand and do it with passion. A round of applause again, please. And thank you very much, Bunelino, for that presentation. And that coming after the presentation, the pitch from all of you here was really, really excellent. You've done very well. Well done. Felicitations. That is what we need to do. So there are 4 things that I want to add to this, if you allow me, Michelle, to do it. Yes.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Because 2 minutes is even a lot. So the first is the spirit of, you start off, before I get to this, but I will still use 2 minutes. Time me, you will see wonders today. Is the pitch from all the colleagues, and I'll call you colleagues, and at the end I'll tell you why. From all the colleagues here, center around one thing. They know a problem, and they went at to solve it. Solution. solutions were seen all through. Very important. On this presentation, there is a problem. People need to eat. But the climate is changing. But we need a different way to do it to create jobs. The only thing that I want to add here, and I love the passion that flow through, the only thing that I need to add here is that you need to voluntarily volunteer yourself. So that aspect of innovative volunteerism, because that is the foundation of climatepreneurship. You need to avail yourself. What is innovative? Avail yourself to learn new skills, to solve problems. So I think one of the central pillars of these climatepreneurship champions and ambassadors is innovative volunteerism. That said, this is par excellence extraordinaire.
So you notice when Mr. Takam was summarizing my speech, he said something. You need to have confidence in what you are saying.
Faut avoir confiance en vous lorsque vous parlez.
And all of you did very well.
Et c'était bien ce que vous avez présenté.
Yeah, but what I want you to work on, and it's
toutefois
an opportunity, is to, anytime you stand to speak, don't care whether you know French or you know English. That's not the issue. What you should show is the passion.
Vous devez être passionné lorsque vous présentez. Oubliez que vous parlez mal anglais ou français.
For example, I was speaking here, but you could see passion. Whether you understood English or not, you could relate.
Vous avez vu comment j'ai parlé avec passion.
So all of you tried that, but you did it with fear.
Vous avez essayé, mais il y avait un peu la peur dans l'âme.
And the fear was not that you are not passionate about what you do, but because of language.
Et c'était lié au problème de langue.
But don't bother about language when you are called up to speak.
Oubliez la question de langue lorsque vous parlez.
Focus on your message.
Concentrez-vous sur le message, votre message.
And show passion on what you are saying.
Et montrez que vous êtes passionné par ça.
Once you do that and try to speak the other language, even if people don't understand it, they'll connect with you.
Même si les gens ne vous suivent pas, le simple fait de sentir que vous êtes passionné, vous vous connectez ensemble.
And that is the winner. That's what wins in communication. Yes, people can listen to you. I understand French, I can listen to you, but what makes me focus is your passion about the issue.
Ce qui m'accroche, c'est la passion
que
vous avez. Même si je ne comprends pas votre langue, mais la passion que vous avez à présenter ce que vous faites, ça nous connecte.
Because I speak in places to people that speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but they listen to what I say. Not they at the end of the day, I know it's a long one that I'm saying. At the end of the day, they come to me and say, I didn't really get everything, but I understood. I connected with what you were saying.
Je parle avec des gens, je fais des conférences aux gens qui parlent espagnol, ils ne parlent pas anglais, mais à la fin, ils viennent me dire, on s'est connecté. Je me suis connecté à vous à cause de votre passion, votre façon de vous exprimer.
So, the advice is, just be passionate about what you do. Speak about it with passion. If you're speaking in French, speak about it with passion. If you're speaking in English, even if you don't know the words, don't bother. Just show the passion. That is what matters. And you will learn. You will learn, you will learn. Because you can still speak in English, very excellent. If the passion is not there, I will get bored.
Alors, vous voyez, sans passion, les gens vont s'endormir, ils ne vont pas vous suivre. Donc, mettez-vous, apprenez. Je crois qu'on est venu ici apprendre, c'est ça l'essentiel. Vous avez vu, devenez vraiment de véritables ambassadeurs. C'est dans les attitudes, c'est dans votre façon de faire. Je pense que l'exemple que Richard a montré tout à l'heure, regardez, je vous ai dit tout à l'heure, ne vous intéressez pas au fait que c'est un bel homme, c'est un bel, n'est-ce pas?
Did you see the